to 40, stays on his feet, cuts it back. Marion Brown, another kickoff return for a touchdown.
Look out! There goes two! No flags! Touchdown!
Howard in trouble!
Incomplete! And the Michigan Wolverines will shock the college football world.
Time coming off. Howard's going to run for it. Time runs out. And that'll do it. Oh, my goodness. Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon. They storm the field at Austin.
He handed it off to Love, who stays on his feet. Love is in the end zone. Notre Dame has won the Orange Bowl, and Marcus Freeman is taking them to the championship game. We're back.
How long has it been? Like what? A month and a half, 2 months?
It's been a month.
Month? Feels like it's been longer actually. But we are back, and since we last did this, I have moved. As you can see, I finally actually have some merchandise behind me, some memorabilia, my signed Michael Vick jersey, some other stuff. Oop, wrong way. Some other stuff behind me. But of course, if you have forgotten, I am top left box, otherwise known as What the Fuck is Virginia Tech, also known as Connor, your host. To my left is Ryan Fravel, shit poster extraordinaire, and Notre Dame aficionado. And below us is Josh, who I can't see his name because of the
It just has my Twitter handle.
Just says Twitter handle.
Yeah, it's
And unfortunately, Tyrese Halliburton literally just maybe have tore his Achilles in Game 7. I literally just saw a pop on his leg for the Pacers. So that sucks.
Well, that was a good run for Indiana.
Yeah. Oh, I saw. Oh God, that's definitely an Achilles or something. I just saw literally the pop and it just. Yeah, that's not good.
You never want to hear about that, but he's going to have
Especially Game 7 of the playoffs like that, or of the finals. Anyway, I didn't realize the game had started. I thought it started at 8:30. I didn't realize it started at 8. But anyway, so we are back. We have quite a bit to talk about. What's the first topic to talk about? Obviously, Lucas and Phil are not here right now. Lucas is currently sitting on the toilet trying to get rid of his trying to cleanse himself of the Taco Bell that he ate.
He went to Ma Bell and got fed.
So obviously, first things first, we have a new, after 1 year, by the way, because we couldn't help ourselves, we have a new format for the CFP for 1 year, just 1 year again.
And then it's going to go. So it's going to go from 12 to 14, and then we're going to be going to 16 after this, probably.
Yeah. So obviously now the new format, most of you people by now watch, unless you've been living under a rock, like we have the last month. So 14 teams, no more conference championship buys. It'll just be straight seeding model. If you win your conference, you're
at least guaranteed in, but you're not guaranteed a top 4 spot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
that's good at least. At least they did the thing that we all were hoping they were going to do.
How are we feeling about the new model?
Conference championships don't matter. Sorry. There are no rules. Conference championships don't matter. The points mean nothing.
I mean, this is just going to try and ensure that there's going to be, obviously as many Big Ten and SEC teams as possible. This is going to help with.
I swear, if y'all let Tennessee in.
Unfortunately, I had Tennessee in my top 12 or whatever last time we did that show. Unfortunately, I hadn't made my change. Because I had done that way before.
That was before Nico Amalivia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but
is his name?
I mean, I don't know. It's just like it's just making another change so soon after. Like, I would have been fine if they had just kept it at 12 and just made it to where there's still a straight scene. I think it's just the problem everyone had. Obviously, was just the putting the ranking of or putting teams. Having a team like Arizona State be a 4 seed, right?
Yeah.
And then of course it all backfired on every single team. That was the one that was in those seeds by losing their first game
Yeah, who's
So-
to think? Who would have thought if you sat out from playing college football for a whole entire month that you would be, I don't know, less prepared?
Well, I think obviously the way it should be is every single team, every single top. If they were, whenever they expand to 16 teams, which will probably be next year, the perfect way to do it is there should be no buys. It should just be
We just get rid
the
of
number
buys.
of teams 1 through 8 get a home playoff game at their home stadium. Have that, I don't know, have that the
That would be
weekend.
so sick.
Have that maybe start. Have that. I know. That's usually Army Navy's day. Maybe have that start like either before or after that, or have it the week after that game. So you have a conference championship, you have Army Navy game, and you have a week off, and then you go into the playoffs, right? Then from there you get 2-3 weeks off or whatever. From there to then around Christmas, New Year's is then when the rest of the games get played. I still don't like the fact that that's that long of a break, but every single top team, I still think every team wants to play it. I still think every team that's 1 through 8 would rather have a home playoff game than have the bye. Obviously, they would want that home crowd. So I think, and obviously that's going to make more money anyway, right? So if that's all, that's their goal, obviously, which is why they do all this stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And so obviously, for me as a Notre Dame fan, I love this.
Because it also guarantees that now you can get a top 4 seed because you couldn't get the 4, right?
Everybody not named Ohio State from the Power 2 was complaining after the national championship run about, Notre Dame gets the 20 million. They don't have to split it with a conference. They had an easy path. Blah 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 blah. And
they pick and choose their ACC games.
It's crazy because we beat the SEC champs on the way there. We beat an 11-1 Big Ten team on the way there. We beat the Big Ten runners-up on the way there. But going back to that, like, I think this is beneficial for Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, it's crazy, and I've seen a lot of people get mad about this new format. Notre Dame didn't do anything to get this. I think that this is the way of the SEC and the Big Ten, because I think the SEC, and Josh can give more insight because he is our SEC, aficionado. But I think the SEC looked at it last year, and they never thought in their mind that there would ever be a world where an SMU and an Indiana would take the final few spots of a college football playoff away from an Alabama, a South Carolina, and an Ole Miss. I think once that happened, we know who runs the sport. It's those big 2 conferences. They were going to try to do everything they could to ensure that they have the most control possible of how many teams from their conference get in. And that's the one they did. But in them doing that, they're also benefiting Notre Dame. So I think Notre Dame, to me, is the biggest winner in this as of right now, as it currently stands, because they can go 11-1. And if they're a top 4 team, they get a bye week. And that's 1 less game they have to play, which, if you think about it, that's 2 less games they might have to play than everybody else. They don't have to play a conference championship, and they don't have to play a first-round bye if they get a top 4 seed. So I think it's good because I think the straight seeding model is better. I think that's what we should have had to begin with. But I can also see where this is headed, and it's headed towards a SEC Big Ten controlled college football landscape. Josh?
Mm-hmm. So as far as my thoughts on this, I think you touched on it, Ryan. Just having and I think it was less Alabama last year. I think it was more about South Carolina and Ole Miss
missing out,
not getting in. Even though I would argue that both of those teams were just – you could say South Carolina because of their losses, but their losses were because of – I think 2 of their losses were just because of 2 plays that had bad officiating.
Oh, yeah. South Carolina, the LSU game, that's probably like even LSU fans admit that that's like one of the worst officiating games ever. At least last year. That was such a bad game.
And we can, because we're not affiliated with any of these schools or anybody in the NCAA, we could touch on how bad officiating has become in the sport of college football, specifically in the SEC, because it is quite egregious. But besides that, people entertaining the fact, just the thought of what was it, 11-1 Indiana?
Yeah.
Yeah, 11-1 Indiana being anywhere close to being as good as Ole Miss or South Carolina, or I mean, we're talking about teams that would have, pick your score on that game. Indiana's not going to score 15 points. And it was a little ridiculous, and all the people who were talking, so it's still tough to go 10-0. Yeah, every good team they played that had a pulse beat them by 40. Okay, it just happened that they had only one of those teams on their schedule. So I feel like it's, again, from my point of view, I feel like you're going to have better teams even though you're going to have less overall participation from everybody in college football.
Yeah. What I feel like is this is really going to set in the fact that, like, unless you really do start investing a lot with the transfer portal and NIL and stuff, you're going to just be left behind. And unfortunately, that's where a team like VT is really starting to lag behind, is they just don't have the money right now to be able to do that. And so it feels like VT is definitely a school that's falling behind with the times and stuff like that. And I don't know if we're ever going to see any schools like
Connor. Let me cut you off. I don't think that's true, because Clemson is doing a phenomenal job.
Well, I'm not talking about specifically the ACC.
I know. But what I'm saying is Clemson has not gone to the transfer portal.
Well, it's also Dabo's a really good coach, but they still have tons of money to bring players in to begin with.
Yeah,
as well. So, that's the other part too. Like, they have that money to at least entice players to go there. Like VT, right now we have 4 players in our 2026 class, and none of them are higher than a 3-star. Excuse me.
3-star.
It's the class is terrible right now. We had a 4-star that had committed, and then he was like, "Nope, I'm backing out."
Well, why would you? And there's another thing too. Why would you gamble on recruiting a high schooler when you can get somebody who's actually has a body of work, who actually has, meaningful snaps, and you can get.
That's what I'm saying. Snaps. But now, school. But I know Clemson's is not really doing that. But that also could eventually come and bite Clemson.
Clemson also gets all the 5-stars they want out of that little pocket that they recruit from.
But a school who doesn't have as much money, they're not going to be able to compete, be able to get those types of players that have experience to be able to come in, at least that are really top tier flight good. Like you can get guys who are from lower schools.
I don't know if it's necessarily. I don't know if that's necessarily true. You just have to have – you don't necessarily have to have a lot of money to get these guys to come to your school. You have to have a good program or something you can offer them, because it's not just money.
And obviously if it's like a Jeremiah Smith caliber player, you're going to have to give up a decent chunk of change to get him to come to your school, right? Like that. Ohio State outbid Miami for Jeremiah Smith. That's why they got him. I do think, though, and this is where I agree with Josh a little bit, Notre Dame doesn't necessarily put out – we're not out here dropping massive bags like Miami, Oregon, Texas A&M. You notice that the teams that they're willing to play the NIL game a little bit, but they're not willing to outbid for certain talent, like the Notre Dame, the Ohio State, the Texas. Those teams now, Georgia, those teams right now are so good because – they have a foundation of players that they recruited that want to be there for more than just the NIL paychecks, along with bringing in guys from the portal with that NIL money.
Like I said, it's the structure there, and let's be honest, with these guys who are playing this sport and taking it seriously and everything, they're trying to get to the league. So I think putting guys in the league is just as important as somebody getting some money now. And I think it could actually
see that's where I do think programs like VT can actually have success because like they might not be always first rounders, but like we had
if you're sending
we had like 4 or 5 people
like,
get drafted this past draft, and we had the earliest was like a 4th rounder, Basil Toon, but like he was how with the fact that he actually went higher than a lot of people thought he would because of how well he tested at the combine and stuff, and how well he had played at VT. So like that can help definitely as well, I think.
And
I do think it can help with programs that do have a lot of people that leave. If someone's coming in, right, that's like a freshman, right, they know that because there's so many people that are leaving that may have left, they're more guaranteed to get that time, and that's why you like some of the most famous examples of people hitting the transfer portal before all this started is because they weren't guaranteed the starting time, right? Like Martell, right? Tay Martell, because he wasn't guaranteed a starting position, so that's why he kept transferring, and then he just kept going to worse and worse situations. So that's also
go where you can play.
Yeah, exactly. So
go where you can play. I understand that, but another example of like being a little too much in the transfer portal and losing. So instead of going to the transfer portal and getting a team, you're not going to do that. You're going to be bringing in a bunch of individuals. And they need to learn how to play as a team. Good example about this, was it last year's or the year before last year's preseason number 1, Florida State?
They weren't number 1, but they were like a top 10.
Oh, no, they were top 10. That's right.
They were like top 10, and then
top 10.
Florida State was number 5 in the country.
That's what it was. Sorry. Admonish
that is another case where it's just that was like, I know we ragged on them, but that's also just a combination of just all the talent they lost in the transfer portal, but also all the talent that went to the NFL, right?
Well, and also the problem with Florida State was they didn't that entire year with Jordan Travis and that team. The reason they were so successful wasn't because their entire team was full of a bunch of talented transfers. Yeah, they got brought in Keon Coleman for Michigan State.
But the next year they also brought in a bunch of talented
transfers. But this past year, the reason they were so bad was because they brought guys in from the portal that were just there to collect a paycheck, and all they cared about was the playing time that they were going to get. They weren't bought into helping Florida State win.
I mean, you're not going to tell me that Florida State wasn't dropping some serious money.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they absolutely they were. Yeah.
But the problem was they were too dependent on it last year, and they had no chemistry. Those guys.
So we're all saying the same thing, just different ways.
Yeah.
You need money in the transfer portal. You also need a good coaching foundation that's going to send guys to the league. And recruiting is important, but it's not everything anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Now, I want to pose this question, because we'll go more into the recruiting stuff when we get to the NCAA lawsuit.
Actually, actually, before we get that, or maybe we can talk about it later. But did you hear that they're considering only having one window for transfer portal sometime in January?
I feel like that would be good.
Yes, it's a good thing.
Have it, because that was always the worst part. Is have that.
Well, here's a window.
That way you're not having people saying they're going to transfer as your team's like preparing for a bowl game, regardless
preparing for the season,
preparing for the CFP. Penn State's backup quarterback left them before the Orange Bowl.
Yeah,
like think of that. How
now? So you have it after the I think it's fully after the season is when it was going to be. Right. So that way you can't do anything, and that way, and obviously you can't exactly threaten. You can threaten, I guess, to sit, but it's not as like.
I think it should be in between. I think it should be in between the very end of the season and before spring practice starts.
Yep.
Yeah, so have it I think they said sometime in January. Definitely be after the season ends, which usually that's early January like 10th.
Now, I do think there should be I agree with the certain situation. Like if a coach leaves, I feel like that's if a coach leaves,
there should be extenuating circumstances like that. Like a coach leaves, or you have say you have some sort of
family emergency
with bullying or sexual assault or something like that. these things there needs to be provisions for that, but that doesn't mean that the rules don't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
So getting back to the new playoff format and everything, the one thing that I've seen online and everything, the worry about this is, one, like Josh said, conference championships don't matter. Now, I don't necessarily agree. I think it matters for the ACC and the Big 12 still, obviously, because that's like the best chance for them to get in. But conference championships don't matter. And two, this is going to make it to where teams are going to schedule the lightest schedule possible in the non-con so that they can get the best record, because last year proved that your record says who you say. The record says who you say you are, like Indiana being 11-1. So teams are going to aim to be that way.
Story. Yeah.
So, yeah, like with USC, right? USC is now look like Notre Dame USC done, because USC's schedule is already too hard. They don't want to play Notre Dame in the non-con to risk another loss.
If anyone wants to make their schedule easier, right? But
yeah,
so
is it ruining college football?
The SEC and the Big Ten are talking about doing like like in basketball, they do like a head-to-head kind of thing. They're talking about scheduling like an SEC team will schedule
SEC versus Big Ten, like games each other, build up, which sure, like you might have like, but obviously what it's going to be, it's going to be like Ohio State versus like Kentucky. It's not going to be Ohio State versus Alabama.
No. It'll be Ohio State versus Mississippi State. And like
they guarantee each of them
Minnesota.
They get it's all their shit teams get to face the good teams from the other end.
Well, the shit teams get a boost in a schedule.
How hilarious would that be if they did that and it backfired and like Mississippi State upsets Ohio State? That would be hilarious.
A couple times. I bet. You don't think Vanderbilt would love to put an L on Penn State?
Well, I'm sure, but then obviously the SEC is like, look at us. Look at Vandy. They beat Ohio State.
Is that South Carolina whooping up on Michigan? Oh. That's happened before.
Oh, God forbid Illinois beat Alabama. Oh.
Brewer would be fired. He'd be at the runways like, hey guys, where's the plane? Like,
gets left on the tarmac like Lane Kiffin.
Leave me on the runway.
So does this ruin college football in terms of teams? Because like that's the thing. It's like if Notre Dame USC is going to end, what other big rivalries in the non-conference can we see end because of this? And
so I think for some things may go away temporarily.
Yeah.
I think we need to try very, very hard to ruin college football. We need to try very, very hard to ruin college football because I feel like every offseason people are like, oh, something's changed. Is this going to ruin college football? And every year I see stadium completely full.
And then it doesn't exactly get ruined.
No, it doesn't. It just changes.
Yeah.
And are we going to like the changes? Now, you know what I would like? Some consistency in officiating.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I would like. If you're going to be consistently bad, or if you're going to be bad consistently. If you're going to be good consistently. Please, please, please don't act like the league doesn't have favorites. Don't act like the league's not going to, screw over a certain team when they're up on Georgia. Take away an interception that would have led to the lead and eventually winning the game.
or maybe just the entire LSU South Carolina game.
Yeah. Or maybe for Connor's sake, stay with the call on the field. Stay with the call on the damn field when it's Hail Mary. Like,
and it doesn't look like there's any true way to be able to overturn it.
And you know what? Yeah, again, Josh, there's no way in hell that the ACC office didn't call down when they were taking a look at that and say, hey, Miami's one of our best shots. They've got a Heisman caliber quarterback. You got to give them this win. You got to give them this win.
I'm not big on conspiracies, but I will believe that one at least.
Hold on.
I do actually believe that.
When the conspiracy involves less than 5 people, it can be very likely that something like that happened.
Especially after the fact, like immediately after the game, and they're like, well, the ACC put out a statement saying, yeah, we got it wrong.
Oh,
we got it wrong.
No, they said they got it wrong and we should have won. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, change the score then. Oh, we're not going to do that.
We can't go back and change the score.
No, I do think if we had won that game, that would have really changed the entire.
That would have changed the outcome. I think it would have changed the outlook of your guys' season because that was.
For both of us. I mean, obviously we'd have way more confidence going in and having that's a crazy signature win for a program like that on the road against a top 5 team.
I don't know if you can call Hard Rock on the road.
I mean, no. Granted, we had probably had a lot of players, a lot of fans there too.
So, and also the Arizona State.
You know what's crazy? I watched that. I'm sorry, but I was sitting there and I see the whole thing happen. They say touchdown, and I didn't even react. I went like this, but I wasn't just like, oh my god, I was running around. I wasn't. And then when they switched, I was like, I'm not even surprised. I couldn't be mad.
No, I think I remember that. I think you were like,
Dude, we were talking about it in the chat, and I think Lucas was the only one because I think secretly is because he was like, man,
he's the only one because he's the secretly a Miami fan.
Yeah, and he's like, hey man, that wasn't a catch. He didn't have full control, and I'm like, that is the definition of. What is it called? There is not indisputable video evidence to say he did or did not catch it. So you stay with the ruling on the field, which is a touchdown.
Yeah, hold on. Don't we have a thing for that? Yeah, where you just call it what you called on the field? Okay, then. Yeah, I don't know.
I would understand it if they would have called it incomplete. I would have completely understood it.
Oh, no, both ways. See, that's the thing. I would have been totally fine with it, but it bothers me the fact that they
called it a touchdown.
Or if they called it I would have been just as bothered if they had said incomplete and then reviewed it and said, "Oh no, it's a touchdown," because then that would obviously pissed off Miami fans, right?
Yeah,
same thing. So,
but yeah, and then you got the Arizona State Texas situation, which I don't know if we.
Not getting a.
That was targeting. That was targeting. That was the definition of the rule, and I think Arizona State got screwed because I think we should have seen Arizona State win that football game. But getting back to everything,
thank God we at least got one good game in the playoffs because of that, though.
So, like Josh said, is it going to ruin college football?
Probably
I think it probably not. But I think where people are coming from, Josh, is the reason we love college football and college football fans are so much more passionate than NFL fans is because the NFL product and the college football product are two completely different things that value two different types of media. One is literally just a business. That's for views, money. That's all that is. College football.
Yeah, the other one pretends to give out degrees.
Yeah. But I think the problem is we're seeing the 2 and 2 start to slowly merge together.
And that's not good for either.
It's not good for either. I mean, they're already talking. We basically are. We'll get into it, but we basically already have a salary cap now with the NCAA ruling. We're already having contracts get signed. It was starting, I believe, in 26 with NIL deals. We are basically college football is now a minor league system. That is where we are.
Yeah, it's not amateur anymore.
Yeah, and I think that rubs people the wrong way because they want to keep those two separate.
It can, but I don't think paying the players is what's getting us there. Do you know what I mean? I think getting rid of spring games is getting us there. I think,
rivalries ending.
Yeah, getting rid of rivalries because, now you're chasing the playoffs. That's getting there,
Conference championships being diminished.
Well, that another thing too, ticket prices going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it costs as much, if not more, to go to a college football game than it does an NFL game.
Crazy.
It doesn't make sense, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'll just bring up some gripes that I have with my own team, my own fans. It's like last season they went 4-8, 4-8, a losing season, and 3 steps back. You know, we hoping for better. We've had no consistency at offensive coordinator. We have coaches leaving for rivals in this offseason. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. What does the university do? They raise season ticket prices. And they're surprised that they had the lowest season ticket renewal rate they've ever had. You don't raise the prices when you don't have a winning product on the field. No, Kentucky is. Hold on, let me figure this out. As far as SEC games, the past 2 seasons, Kentucky has not won a single SEC home game for the past 2 seasons. Why do you think people want to pay to see that?
Damn, what was the record?
What
was the record before last year?
To see that?
What was your record? Not last year, but the year before that. You said it was 4-8, and then what was it before that?
7-5.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you won. So you won like what 5 of your games on the road or something in the SEC?
No, we won 3 non-conference games.
Yeah.
And then 4 games on the road. I think it was Mississippi State, South Carolina, Florida.
Oh wow.
Vanderbilt. And then at home, we lost all of our home games. For the
Sounds
SEC.
like BT. We don't have much of a home field.
No. There was one of those teams we didn't beat that year, and we must have beat. Oh no, because I feel like we beat.
Whatever. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you go off on that.
No, because we beat Louisville that year. That's right.
All right.
So yeah, somewhere in there. But that's my point. Like, ticket prices are going up. We're getting rid of the stuff you do for the fans. You know, and it's. Why are we trying to chase something that makes it the same as something else that's not as special?
Like the NFL product is bland. And I've gotten into arguments with NFL fans that don't watch college football, and their argument is always, why would I watch the worst, why would I watch a product that's not the best players in the world? And I said, because one, what you see on NFL Sundays doesn't and will never compare to college football Saturdays. And the biggest reason for that is the tradition and the passion and the pageantry of college football. The NFL doesn't have that. That's corporate.
No, they don't.
And
the NFL has never had it.
And it sucks because I do feel like that's getting sucked out of the sport. But again, I think this goes back to the NCAA. This is all the NCAA's fault. There was a way to do this, and this will kind of lead into our next topic. There was a way for the NCAA to prepare themselves for the NIL era. They had years, decades, to do this right and have a committee in place to set rules, contracts, all different types of other stuff. The problem is the NCAA continued to kick the can down the road because they wanted to keep the perception of amateurism in their sport.
Yeah.
While making millions and billions of dollars off the backs of student athletes that never saw a dime.
Nope.
And this is where we are now because of who we had running the sport. And you realize how sad it is that we have to get individual state legislation for a college football or a college athletic sport. That is,
that's why Congress has been getting involved too.
Yeah, but Congress doesn't even want to touch it. Like Congress doesn't really even want to touch it.
It's honestly none of Congress's business.
Yeah,
I get the state legislature because they're state schools.
Yeah,
right. They're public universities in the state, so like the state actually has a little bit of a say of what goes on at those schools. But as far as, actually getting legislation in place for this, I think what you said, Ryan, kind of got it, but in my mind, it wasn't kicking the can down the road. It was being cocky that you're going to win that court case when it comes up.
Yeah. They never. I don't think the NCAA ever saw a world where college athletes would be
like
paid.
you got to think like 20, 30 years ago, the money wasn't there, right?
Yeah.
The money was not there for college football. It was.
Well, I mean, actually, if you want it, there's the reason why football is like this is because of a Supreme Court case from like the 1980s.
But what I mean is, like, there wasn't billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's very true.
Back in the 90s.
But what I'm talking about, that's what set this whole thing up is that specific court case, unfortunately. And so I feel like maybe that's also another thing is maybe Congress and as Congress knows that that's what's happened. They don't want to have a similar impact. You know what I mean? So they're just like kind of.
But the problem is Congress hasn't really. All Congress has done is kind of made it a little worse because Congress with the Tennessee stuff, the Supreme Court made a ruling saying that the NCAA has no. What do you call it? They have no power and no right to have power over any NIL operations or rules. So they basically just stripped the man card away from the NCAA and said, it's not up to you guys to make the rules, which makes it worse because now nobody has to listen to anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the next thing? What's the next topic?
So how do we, obviously with the NCAA settlement, right? Each school is going to get about $20-ish million per year signing into the agreement. The schools are allowed to use it to fund anything of their choosing to do with athletics. Obviously, Title IX, there's going to be a lawsuit or something of that for Title IX because if there's not, most of this money is going to go towards football and basketball. So basically, we have a college football salary cap. Now, in that same ruling, going forward, I believe in 2026, I could be wrong, there will be a clearinghouse that is neutral. So when a high school kid or a transfer gets an NIL deal, said contract has to get sent to this clearinghouse, get reviewed by lawyers, and it has to be approved before the kid can sign. How do you guys feel? Is this good?
Wait, say
or
it again.
Bad?
Say that all again. I'm sorry.
So there's going to be a middleman when NIL contracts are offered to high schoolers or transfer portal targets. Before the kids are allowed to sign, the colleges have to send it over to a middleman clearinghouse with attorneys and lawyers that will look over the documentation and approve it or deny it based off of their unbiased ruling to see if it's fair or not. And that's how NIL deals will work. It's basically like a contract. And we basically have a salary cap now.
I mean,
unbiased.
Yeah.
Unbiased. Yeah, good luck. Whenever you involve another party, it makes something more complicated. It never makes anything easier. I don't know. I guess is this kind of like players having rights?
Yeah.
In the sense of like that third party is there to protect the players' rights and interests.
It's the whole thing is like by this the legislation is that it's supposed to protect both the school and the player.
I just can't wait for something like for this because it'll be called like some sort of oversight, committee. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Can't wait for a bunch of lawyers and people to get a hold of this contract and look at the kid and say, you're not really worth $3 million a year, buddy. We probably should have had a couple more touchdowns in that state championship. I don't know, man. How fast do you run your 40?
You run a 4.45
That's
instead of
more
a 4.35.
145,000 a
man.
year, kind of.
Come on, man. Really? Can't hit the 4. You can't get under 4.4. Get the fuck
Man,
out of
you
here.
make-
You're only
man,
worth
you-
$1 million. You're only worth $1 million.
Man, you make more.
With the sprints should get you there. Come on, man.
Man, I'm looking at this. Man, get a load of this, man. This kid's going to be making more in 1 year than I make in 5 years. And I'm the one looking at this. And I got to approve it.
No, I don't think that. I think what you're going to have is like that happening.
I don't know, man.
Them going
Josh,
to the
Bryce-
school and being like,
Bryce Underwood signed for $14 million. I don't know. I mean,
no.
Is it really that much?
yeah, $14 million.
$14
I don't know.
million.
And they're like, you're really lowballing this kid. I feel like he's worth like 2.5. We're giving him an education.
I mean,
Piece of paper
it's
from
like-
the University of Alabama, sir. I don't think it's that.
But the other thing is,
Prestigious.
this thing also, and I forgot to clarify this. So only the money that is used from the 20+ million for recruits and the other athletics, that rule with the clearinghouse only applies to that sum. So if a Florida donor who says he has $10 million wants to pay a kid under the table $10 million to go to Florida, he
I
can.
think
And there's
it's
no
likeness. No,
Yep.
so you can get this under likeness or
Yep.
an image, right? So
Yeah.
you just pay the kid a ridiculous amount for doing an ad for your business.
Yep. So basically, it doesn't fix the problem. It just gives everybody.
It fixes the problem of schools doing this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they still have the teams that have huge NIL donors and boosters. That's just even more money to their pocket. It's just less money that they have to spend.
Yeah.
So what I think it does, and Connor talked about this earlier, I think it does uneven the playing field again a little bit. Teams that don't have huge NIL funds and collectives aren't going to be able to compete. Oh, it's nice. They get a little extra $20 million.
Every SMU man, just like we're
they're
back,
like,
baby.
man, we were 40 years ahead of the curve on this shit. We were 40 years ahead on this. Damn it.
Somebody call up the Ford
man.
family right now.
No, someone's gonna be like, "Hey, can someone create time travel so we can go back and tell them, hey, hold off for this for 20
if anyone's
years."
creating time travel, it's the Methodists.
Oh, Texas is going to go from renting Lambos for recruiting official visits to
building them. Wait, hold on.
No,
Hold
they're
on.
gonna be
You gotta go back again.
They're gonna be like, we have so much money, we're gonna give you a Lambo, even if you don't come to, even if just for the visit. That's how it's gonna be. There's like, hey, here's a free Lambo.
For an
just for the
official
visit.
visit. Here's your Lambo. Oh, I get to drive.
You know,
this
and
home.
I'll say this.
Oh, you're here.
I wanna-
It's yours.
No,
Take
and
it
the kid's
home.
like, he's like, how old are you? I'm 16. Do you have your driver's license? No, I don't even have my like driver's ed license or whatever the fuck it is.
And you know what's
Standing against that
crazy?
wall, we'll take your picture. We'll get you one by the end of the day.
Now
know
go
what's
stand over
crazy?
next to Bevo and make sure and watch out. He might stab you like he tried to attack George's dog.
You know what's crazy is that I because I cover recruiting, but there is stuff going on now. Josh, you made the joke about we'll give you a Lambo just to visit. There are teams in recruiting right now that are paying high school kids money to visit their school, to commit to their school on the spot, and 3, to not take visits to other schools. I mean, hey man,
That just makes sense to me, though.
Hey, you want to go? Hey, I'm going
It's
to take
like,
an OV to.
Look, you only look at us. We'll pay you $100,000.
He says, "Sure,
$100,000.
Give me
You only
the-
look at us. And
give
if
me the
you sign
100K."
with us, we'll give you more.
Hey, and he comes back and he's like, Well, see, Texas is offering me a Lambo.
Wait.
Take a
You
bit.
talk to Texas? That's it. We're suing you, kid.
Hey,
That's
Ohio
a breach of our
State.
contract.
Hey, Oregon offered me a shoe deal with Nike. What can you do to counteract that, Josh?
I'm just waiting for I'm just waiting for that to become an offer.
Hold
from
on,
Nike
you're gonna
for,
tell
like
me
the number
somebody's
one
gonna be
recruit.
walking
We'll give you a shoe
Yeezys?
deal or something. You know what I mean?
Some
That'd be
what?
crazy.
I said some Jeezys.
Jeezys.
Bro,
Like 10 years from now, my name's gonna be on a shoe.
hey, Boston
know.
College, man, they signed with New
Look,
Balance
I just
now.
want to know. Look, just talking about Oregon and Nike. I just want to know the names of the small children that are going to make my shoe. The small Chinese children who will be making my shoe. Ooh, yeah, we got real quiet.
But you know what's crazy?
Sorry, I'm watching the game.
You're good. You know what's crazy about that, Josh?
What the hell was that, Neesmith? The fuck?
What's
Oh,
crazy
boy,
about that, Josh?
Oh, boy, Connor's on his commentating.
Connor.
Yes, I am.
We know what's crazy about that, Josh, is
What's next? What's next to talk
hold
about?
Hold on. Connor.
We're still talking about child slave labor in China.
Jesus.
Cool.
Jesus Christ.
My favorite.
Connor. Shh. For a second. What's crazy is there's
somebody on Twitter. They pay him 30 cents a day like that.
There was a 5-star safety that took an OV to Oregon, I want to say 2 weeks ago. And his kid's name is Jet
Actually, a really
Washington.
nice place to work. That's why they have suicide nets. I'm sorry, continue.
There's a 5-star
to
safety.
Oregon.
Yes.
Okay.
His name's Jet Washington. He is the nephew of Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
So what they did is
not support child labor.
No.
Okay.
No. He's not. But
I just feel
when he
like
went out
I have to make that distinction because we said his name so close to those jokes.
So he went on an OV to Oregon, and him being Kobe's nephew, Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's wife, was on the visit with him.
Did he fly?
And he did fly. He did
fly.
fly.
Not be a helicopter?
Oh no,
dude. Oh my God.
Anyway,
thank God we don't
cut that out.
Cut
that out.
How no wonder we're so popular on Twitter, man. We're just as toxic as they are on there.
They're eating this up.
Anyway, we're gonna cut that out.
Edit that out.
Probably not.
Like we do any post editing.
Yeah, it just ends the stream right there. That's the
anyway. He's on 5-star safety on a visit. Nephew of Kobe Bryant. He's on an Oregon official visit. They lay out the red carpet, obviously, for him and Vanessa Bryant. He's doing his OV pics. He's the only. Now he took a picture with 2 other 5-star kids.
Yeah,
he was the only one that got custom Nike Kobe's cleats with his name engraved on them for the OV pics.
Though,
yeah, it does.
That's an homage to his uncle. Yeah,
his uncle.
Yeah, his uncle.
But if I'm the other 5-star safety, I'm standing next to him, and I'm like, "Where's my shoe?"
No. Because you understand that was his uncle. That's why he's getting that.
But why can't I at least get my name on my shoes?
Oh yeah, that's a good.
You can pay for that. I'm sure there's someone be willing to do that for you for a couple $100.
Yeah, okay.
You shouldn't have to do that if you're, if the owner of Nike supplies your NIL.
Yeah, just a thought.
Yeah, think of all that extra money he's making off the backs of Chinese children that he could just throw your way.
Oh my! All right, final topic because I think
like I see him. Reebok doesn't do that.
No, they just use Indonesian children instead.
That's right.
Phil's here.
Yeah, what's good?
Gang.
Oh no, don't gang to that, man.
Don't say that. That was like the whitest way possible to say that.
Phil, real quick, since you're here, I need your address for this because I still need to send this to you. So message me your address so I can ship this to you.
Maze Madman, everybody, go sub. But no, did Josh step away?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, real quick, final 2 topics, and then we can get out of here.
Final 2.
All right, final two. With the new playoff format, the new lawsuit, everything, the new ruling, is this now the death nail of the ACC and the Big 12, or will that not happen until Notre Dame joins one of the Big Two? Which way are you guys leaning?
I don't think it's going to happen unless Clemson, or if Clemson leaves the ACC, then I think that's the death nail, and the other team and the rest will fall apart, right? At least for the ACC. Big 12, we thought it was going to happen with Texas and Oklahoma, but it's kind of stuck around, surprisingly. The problem is, there's no top-tier teams usually to where that's going to matter. It's almost like, I don't know if the Big 12 is, weirdly balanced enough to the point. It's, almost weirdly balanced to where I feel like they'd be able to survive stuff like this. I don't know. It's I don't know. I mean, only we have no idea. Obviously, it's not a guarantee that anything's going to happen, unfortunately. And obviously, Florida State's whole trying to leave the ACC backfired last year. So, Clemson.
Man, did that backfire hard?
So they're not going to try that for a little bit, right? Clemson.
I'll tell you what, their downfall led to some of the greatest quotes that we've had in college football for a while. What was? Was it? Was it Boston College? Their Week 0 game or Week 1 game?
No, it was Georgia Tech in Ireland.
Georgia Tech, yeah.
We thought that I was like, oh, that's a good win for Georgia Tech. We thought, oh, it's just a close game. That's first week of the season, right? No.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech was not.
We'll figure out who these teams really
mid.
are next week, and then it continued to happen.
Yeah. So.
All right, Josh, your thoughts?
One more time. Sorry.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with my wife.
Yeah, you're good. With the ruling, the NCAA settlement, and the new format, is that the final death nail for the ACC and Big 12 going forward, or will that not happen until Notre Dame joins either the Big 10 or the SEC?
So, as far as being a conference, the entities that we know as the Big 12 and the ACC, I think they will be fine.
Okay.
I just do. And the reason why I think they'll be fine is because they will have one or two really good teams every year. Maybe not.
That's how it happens.
Definitely the ACC.
As long as you have Clemson, there's always gonna be. It's weird. It's like every year there's a different team that has a really good season for that season. You know what I mean? And kind of challenges them. Right? It was Pitt one year, then it was
SMU
Miami,
this year.
SMU. There was VT for Duke. There was VT back in 2016. Even before that, it was the ACC.
North Carolina.
The ACC to me seems like a league where you've got one or two real just top tier teams.
Yeah.
Every season. And then 3 through 7 they're just up there. They're
above average.
They just can't beat those two teams.
Yeah, they're above average.
And then your 8 through the rest of the conference.
Not garbage.
Trash
garbage.
Now, I do think, regardless of what happens, I know it's football, and we're talking about football, but I think the ACC, at least as a whole, at least it'll survive. If it ever collapses, it would survive as a basketball league, kind of like the Big East has survived continue to survive as a basketball league only.
I don't think it'll ever collapse, because you got to think there's only so many teams you can have in the SEC, and there's only so many teams you can have in the Big 10.
I mean, geographically, there are a few that you would think would make sense for the SEC, but at the same time, I don't know the fit is perfect. You know what I mean? Either.
I think Clemson would fit well in the SEC. I
know I'm preaching.
Miami would fit well in the SEC.
The problem is, Josh,
I think VT has the fan base to do it. I just don't think they're a good enough program as is to do it. You know what I mean?
They have Vanderbilt in there, so that doesn't really matter.
Vanderbilt's there. So you guys
but I will say, at least from the stuff we've heard from the SEC. And
I feel like they only have Vanderbilt there specifically just to prop up their baseball, but obviously LSU just won.
Well, they're academics.
But LSU just won.
LSU just won.
LSU just won. So there you go. It's the SEC.
Yeah.
But
too.
But what I'm saying though is like for everything we've heard since the last expansion, at least from like different reports, SEC is not interested in adding Clemson or Florida State. Part of that is anti-Florida State because Florida, being a longtime member of the SEC,
Florida
is
would
very
be against that.
Yeah,
South
Florida
Carolina would be against Clemson.
Would South Carolina be against Clemson though joining?
Yes.
Yes.
But you don't understand. The reason it's not just the rivalries, but it's also the fact that
it hurts recruiting.
Yes.
Yeah,
when you have
recruiting. You can come play at South Carolina and actually play against the best talent.
Yeah.
In college, or you could go play at Clemson and have a cupcake schedule.
Yeah, so that's where
that is definitely like, do you want to get better and go to the league and be good in the league, or do you want to go to this team? Like, not saying that they wouldn't do that at Clemson, but what I am saying is that is a recruiting thing that's like, and Kentucky uses it to recruit against Louisville. Like, yeah, you could go play for Louisville if you like playing on Thursday night and Friday night.
Playing VT on Thursday nights.
Hey, man, you get Jack Harlow at your games. Who wouldn't love that?
Yeah, he could watch you lose to Kentucky. Did I say that? But yeah, no, you could go to Louisville, and that's all well and good. You're gonna have fun playing against Georgia Tech and Boston College and Virginia and all this other stuff. Or you can go to Kentucky, get challenged, and play against the best teams in the nation, and actually know what you're going to be going up against in the NFL.
Yeah.
You could be playing teams where their best player after football is going to be an accountant for somebody, or you could go play against teams where their second string guy is going to start for 3 years in the NFL.
Or it's going to be a first, or is it actually going to be soon going to be a first round pick in 3 years' time?
It's going to be like
because he's an incoming freshman.
Yeah.
So, and another thing is, and I agree with Josh, I do think though, because with the settlement that the Florida State and Clemson had, their deal, I believe, it goes all the way till 2031, and then at that point, Florida State and Clemson will be able to leave the ACC. And from everything we've heard, that's what they want to do. The problem is,
once they deal,
like I told you, the problem is who's going to take them, because
Big 12,
the SEC's already said no. The Big 10 commissioner, after the addition of Oregon, USC, UCLA, and who am I missing? Who else did they have?
Josh, question: because I keep seeing this. Do you think if they don't take Clemson and Florida State for those reasons, do you think the SEC would want to take like UNC and maybe VT or UVA, one of the two? That way they have a team in North Carolina and Virginia.
The SEC is interested in North Carolina and Duke. That's been reported. They want
they would take North Carolina and Duke, just because of basketball.
Yeah, I feel like that would definitely help there because SEC's been getting better.
As far as Virginia, I'm not sure they would want Virginia. They maybe Virginia Tech, but I don't think they would. That's just they have to bring it. They have to do the balance of how much revenue will this school bring in.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm not saying
how much we're going to have to give them.
Yeah,
and that's a fine line you got to walk. That's why Virginia is not desirable, because they don't do anything.
And they haven't because football they're terrible. They've regressed in basketball.
They're terrible.
And unfortunately, VT is kind of the same way. Football is a little bit more valuable, but basketball they've regressed in a little bit. They've been doing better in baseball, but that's not literally
the
only
big
thing.
Money sport.
Like VT, the only thing they bring is, hey, we'll help wrestling because we've won like 8 of the last 10 ACC tournaments and had like.
And even then, that's like
I know.
A big money sport.
That's not money.
Looking for what are people going to pay to watch on TV? What are people going to fill stands up for? Mm-hmm. Why are people going to buy the shirt? Why are people going to buy the hat? Why are people going to do all this kind of stuff? That's what they're looking at when they're bringing these schools in. Is
There we go.
do we have a school in the market that can get us our viewers?
Mm.
If not, can we bring in a school in the market that will get us our viewers? And it's just, unfortunately, that's where it is. It's more about money than anything else. I would love to see Virginia Tech in like the Big Ten or SEC. I would love to see, Miami or, I'd love to see Georgia Tech on our schedule. I'd love to see, I'm really blanking. Miami, North Carolina and Duke have that little SEC patch on their jersey.
I just think it's weird because that's where the second part of the question. That's why I asked about Notre Dame standing, because the Big Ten came out and stated we're done with expansion until Notre Dame. That's the
decides
big fish
they want to play.
Decides they wants to join the Big Ten. So
So
that's where I'm like,
it makes sense.
Yeah. But that's where I'm like, so then what happens if Notre Dame doesn't? The Big Ten just waits.
I think they can afford to. They have
What
enough
if,
big
I mean,
brand
and, I mean,
names.
what if Notre Dame somehow, for some reason, decides to be like, we'll just fully go in with the ACC for some reason, right? Like,
I don't think they do that. I think
it's either they just stay where they are, or they will go in the Big Ten.
They signed the part-time deal with the ACC because they knew where the ACC was.
Phil just told me his daughter is going to VT.
Congratulations, Phil.
Congratulations, Phil. Congratulations to
Tell him he needs to rep the VT gear for his daughter.
Yeah, we need it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of crazy. You look at Phil and you're like, there's no way he's got a daughter who's like 18.
He doesn't look like a guy who's like 40 or nearly or like 30.
He's not that old. He's close.
Congrats, Phil.
He ain't that old. I'm telling you guys, black don't crack. It looks good.
That's true.
But yeah, that's why I genuinely think.
Okay, is there anything else we need to talk about? I think we
Connor, I know you're trying to cut us off at an hour. This is organic. This is good.
Yes, we've been gone for a month, Connor. All right. I know you're sick of us already for an hour, but Jesus Christ.
I am. No, I'm just kidding. I just want to watch the game. It's halftime right now. Well, it's telling me.
So I do think genuinely that's where I asked that question, because I'm like, if Notre Dame's randomly says we're going to go to the Big Ten, the ACC immediately loses a shit ton of money. So that's where I'm like, is Notre Dame one of the thing that's kind of keeping it to get like the Power Four conferences, as we know, from completely falling apart?
It cut. I don't know if it's only.
Let me tell you what the ACC is going to do, because their little contract things coming up.
Yeah.
So let me tell you what their media contract rights are going to be coming up here in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
So here's what they're going to do.
Yeah, through 2030, right? Yeah.
They're going to start poaching teams from places
where?
You wouldn't expect.
The American Athletic.
They're going to start bringing up FCS programs.
Fucking no. Oh, sorry for the F word. Tulane, you got UCF. You got I'm talking
Memphis,
some Big 12 teams.
Navy.
They're gonna bring them in.
The Big 12, but the problem is, Josh, the Big 12 contract is more than the ACC. So where's that extra money going to come from?
The new media contract.
Because their contract's up. They signed a 10-year contract in 2020. So yeah, that'll be over.
Do you think the ACC would be more valuable than the Big 12? The ACC by that point?
Yes.
If they definitely are able to get maybe some teams like Tulane. Why would the UCF go? You mean USF or UCF?
USF. USF's a team they could probably.
Because UCF's in the Big 12 now, so I don't know why.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying they would poach them from the Big 12.
So then does the Big 12 fall apart then? Or what do they do?
No. I think there's going to be a lot of flexing a little bit like maybe this team's going to
Posturing.
be in this conference for a couple of years. Just stuff's going to move around. It's going to be different, but it's not going to be bad. I think some other teams might be elevated up, and maybe there needs to be a new conference formed.
A new conference comes around.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get
The
to
Big East. The Big East is back, baby.
Big East is back.
Let's get to our final topic, and then we can get Connor out of here.
Oh, I didn't realize there was another one. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay.
All right, this will be quick and easy. But as we talked about before,
That's what I told
straight seating model is now the new official model. This is what it would have been
last year.
What it would have looked like last year. Who do you guys have in this playoff bracket? What would have changed, and who wins the national championship, or does it change at all?
Boise State beats
Indiana.
beats Oregon in the rematch.
Oh, there you go.
And gets into the Final Four.
I think Clemson would have given you guys trouble in the.
All right, hold on, Connor. Let's go with it because it's
sorry.
going to
Yeah, I'll do it. Georgia beats SMU to retain that second spot there. Notre Dame beats Penn State. I think they have some problems with Clemson, but they're able to beat them. Notre Dame beats Penn State to take the third spot, and then the last available spot, Ohio State gets.
Okay. So that's Boise, Notre Dame.
Although I think that Arizona State-Ohio State game would have been very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
So
feel
you
like
would have
gotten
had
better games.
Taboo versus that defense. Yes.
Mhm.
So you would have had
Yeah,
Notre
we
Dame.
get to see how much of a joke Indiana was.
So you would have had Notre Dame versus Boise and Georgia versus Ohio State.
Yes.
Who wins those two matchups?
I think Notre Dame beats Boise.
So it's still just a rematch of what we got because
it would be the rematch of what we got, but it's just a different way to get there.
Okay. Connor?
Tennessee, Georgia. Because did we get Georgia? We got a Georgia versus Ohio State anyway, right? Is that what we got? No,
Notre Dame, Georgia. Notre Dame.
Oh, it was Notre Dame versus Georgia in the
Sugar Bowl.
Didn't you play Penn State? Or was
we
that
played
Ohio
Penn State in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I couldn't remember the order. I'm trying to remember the order. I think it could have been. Yeah, let's see. Boise probably versus Oregon. I think Oregon wins that. I think Notre Dame versus Penn State. Maybe Notre Dame wins. Tennessee versus Georgia. Georgia wins. I think you'd have maybe Oregon, Georgia, Texas, and Notre Dame.
Ooh, so Texas beats Ohio State.
Maybe. I think so.
Ooh, interesting.
Because they lost in their first game.
Texas wouldn't be injured.
I think I had Texas as my favorite to win last year originally. So I mean, I was high on Texas. Georgia versus Texas.
Third time.
I think maybe Notre Dame versus Texas, and then honestly, I liked how Notre Dame was looking at the end, so I think it could have been Notre Dame, maybe.
So if all we had to play was Texas, we'd be sitting here national champs.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Crazy world we live in. I'm agree with Josh. I think Indiana beats Boise State personally.
A little bit of chalk there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Indiana beats Boise. I think SMU, would have gave Tennessee a run for their money.
I had SMU beating Tennessee.
So I think Tennessee wins, obviously, but I think it's.
I actually think that the seeds there would be the final score of that game.
10-7, probably.
Yeah. Notre Dame, I think they battle Clemson a little bit, but I think that game being at home, and that game would have been in minus 30-degree weather. I like Notre Dame's chances. So, and then we get, I think, again, with like Josh said, the Ohio State-Arizona State game. I think it's an awesome game.
It would probably be 25-degree weather.
Yeah.
It doesn't get that cold.
But I think Ohio State wins that one. So then you get what? Oregon versus Indiana, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, Ohio State. I think Notre Dame beats Penn State. Oregon beats Indiana. Georgia beats Tennessee. Ohio State beats Texas. And I think you still have your Notre Dame Ohio State national championship.
Wouldn't it be so funny if Georgia did it to Ohio State again?
Oh, beat Ohio State.
Oh boy. Yeah, here to win the game. Here's a 35-yard field goal.
I wouldn't want that though, Josh.
Go ahead.
Because
we're not going to ice you. Go ahead.
I wouldn't want that though, Josh, because you know what would happen if Notre Dame beat that Georgia team in the Natty. Georgia fans, like they do now, would have been, well, we didn't have our quarterback. We didn't have Carson Beck.
I hate that so much. Everybody's hurt at the end of the year, crying.
Also, everyone's saying Carson Beck was bad last year when he had pretty much the exact same stats, almost verbatim when he had the year before. He literally had more yards and the same amount of touchdowns and interceptions as last year's.
You know what was worse?
Josh, you heard it. Hold on, Josh. Josh, you heard it too. I'm sure you've heard it. Before that Notre Dame game, Georgia fans were like, well, we don't have Carson Beck, but our backup's better anyway. Did you see what he did against Texas? They lose to Notre Dame, and it's, well, we didn't have Carson Beck.
Yeah, we didn't have a starting quarterback. Actually, surprisingly, I didn't hear a lot of
it's been
a lot of complaining from Georgia fans, but I also wasn't really tapped into it like you were.
They were saying stuff that I can't say on a live. That's all you got to know.
Please, we've said way worse, probably.
Like the N-word?
They said that it was a damn shame in a Southern accent, like a deep Southern accent, that the head coach of a Georgia
How do we lose to a
Yeah.
Oh, it was that bad? Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. So, Yeah.
You know, one of that guy's best friends' name is Darrell, and he's a big old black guy, and he's like, I can't believe we lost to that either.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay.
That's terrible.
We are terrible.
So we've covered racism, child slave labor,
Iran, World War III.
No. Did we cover that? Oh yeah,
we did.
Iran electing to receive.
We have 250 people watching. This is the most we've had in a while.
Yeah, wait. Make sure you guys go to stuff.
Any would be more than we've had in a while. It's been a month.
I'm surprised we even have this many people. Granted, all of them are watching on Ryan's Twitter.
I was about to say,
please go like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're so close to like 500 subscribers, I think, or maybe we're around 500.
We're at 600. We're about 600. But yeah,
that's 500. I didn't even realize.
If you are watching right now and you're not a bot from Twitter, go over to Week Zero Productions on YouTube right now. Hit a like, drop a sub. We're getting back into the groove now.
If you are an AI bot on Twitter, make a
also please subscribe
to Week Zero Productions
on YouTube.
Yes, we'll be getting back into it. We'll be doing a lot more.
Conference breakdowns are on the way.
Oh yes,
we're gonna be doing that now. We're still 3 months away from the season.
Breakdown. Why Ohio State is still at the top.
We've got multiple conferences to do, and we are 62 days away from college football. So
Purdue, will they or won't they?
Purdue,
Vandy. What are they going to do as an encore this year?
Vandy, SEC champs. Pavia Mania.
Saying he's the best person to play the sport of football.
Hey, Pavia Mania. Does he still piss on Alabama's field after beating them this year?
Does he still beat Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech? Probably.
Oh yeah. Hold on. Virginia Tech's first 2 games. What are they? South Carolina
in Atlanta.
Vanderbilt.
As like the Chick-fil-A kickoff, and then at home versus Vandy.
Oh man.
So
Hey,
yeah,
you're
we get a top
honorary
10, we get a top 10
SEC
SEC
member.
team, and then we get the SEC darlings last year who still are pretty good and have their QB back. So
There's
yeah.
the real headline. Does Texas A&M
Now, I mean that
go 8-4
also that
again?
game. Also, that game, unfortunately, we're not going. Is that Vandy game is going to be like the ACC night
That would have
game
been so good, man.
The ACC night game.
And when we do it next
Lucas
year, we
just
need
could
to.
not, just could not free up the time. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I might end up still going. Who knows? I might just drive out there.
Maybe you and I should both go.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll
that
see.
would be awesome. If you guys do go, let me know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you'll show up. And then,
Yeah, I'll pull up, take my private jet out there and be like, hey, what's up, boys? Got my new jet from, Phil Knight.
There you go.
Yeah.
Guy with that NIL money. He's
Yeah.
secretly an Oregon fan. He's secretly been an Oregon fan the entire time.
Yeah, totally. That's why we were in Autzen. What do you think why do you think we were in Autzen when Notre Dame lost to NIU?
hey, Connor, do you remember when Ryan acted like he didn't want to walk around the stadium and was gone?
I also
for
remember
an
when
hour?
Ryan didn't want to drive by himself to Notre Dame, so he had to drive 6 hours from your place to his place to then drive 3 hours.
Hold on.
From his place
Let's
to Notre Dame.
contextualize this for our viewers. I live 6 hours away from Ryan. Okay.
You live what? 3 hours from
away
South Bend? Yeah, 3 hours from South Bend.
4 hours from South Bend. We could have just driven up to South Bend and met Ryan there. It would have taken less time.
This piece of shit made us drive there.
My own bed. You realize that?
He made us drive there just so he could then hop.
I could have
so
slept in
just
my
so we
own
could
bed.
hop in his
Woke
car.
up at 7, showered, shaved, got on the road, grabbed some breakfast, been up there at noon to check in anyways.
Yep.
Hey, you know what? We still had a good time though, even though.
Hey, you know what? That was an adventure and that was fun.
That it was, and also you guys got to get the tour of all Illinois' famous construction.
All the famous traffic cones that
every type of traffic cone.
the famous traffic cones that follow Josh wherever he goes. He can.
By the way, you would love
Josh.
Josh. You love it now because I mean they haven't cut the grass since winter.
It's
on
the
sides
state
of the interstates.
That was another thing too. If any one of you who's watching this ever drives through rural Illinois, they do not cut the grass on the side of the highway. You think that doesn't seem like a big deal. Yeah, except in rural Illinois, grass grows to be about 6 feet tall. Okay,
you can't see shit.
It looks like a wall of grass.
Yeah, no, it looks like we were driving through
through the Amazon,
something with grass.
We're going through the Amazon rainforest of just grass. And I remember you and Lucas are in the back just going, all right, so we haven't seen that type of construction cone before. That's a new one. Man, how long have you guys been doing construction?
2 sides of South Bend.
2 sides.
Yeah.
So South Bend's a shithole.
Bro, we go across the bridge.
They go to Notre Dame because they like South Bend. It's that they're lying.
Wait, who was it that said in the car when we went across the bridge? Man, it's a completely different side of South Bend over here.
That might have been either me or Lucas.
And
I bet there's some redlining going on there.
Well, there's a reason.
They have some nice townhouses as well.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they did have some nice townhouses.
Nice townhouses out there.
Okay, I think that's it.
Oh man, there's a reason why Notre Dame, the university, has their own zip code.
Yeah.
It's
very different.
Hey, at least you guys enjoyed the campus, though. But yeah, all right, take us out, Connor. Do the host job.
What are we doing next week? What are we talking about? Give them a preview. What are we talking about?
ACC conference breakdown.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I'll try and be prepared for that, I guess.
Friday, right?
Friday.
Well, I have no idea, dude. There's no guarantee right now. Right now, my schedule literally has a TBD on it. Is literally what it had, or to be determined. So, don't do that to me. That's my boss's fault. So
That's terrible.
That is terrible. You deserve better than that, Connor.
I have no idea.
Well, just let us know. Just let us know.
Okay, we'll figure it out. But so for Josh, for Ryan, I'm Connor. There's been the Week 2 podcast. We will see you back next